Welcome into WagerTalk TV. I am Drew Martin, joined by Tony Mejia and Robbie Vino of WagerTalk.com. We're talking Big 12 action on Saturday. Kicking us off 12 noon Eastern here, Tony. We get the Iowa State Cyclones at the Oklahoma Sooners. We're seeing Oklahoma minus 4-point home favorites. It's dropped down since that opener at 6.5, 60 being the total. Tony, we saw Oklahoma, their bubble kind of burst last week. What are you thinking here, Cyclones and Sooners on Saturday?
Well, the bubble was burst on a national championship, but not necessarily on the Big 12 title, or even, if calamity breaks out, them finding a way to get back into that top four. But I think the bubble is completely squashed by Iowa State this weekend. I like them outright. For starters, this line is very fishy. I mean, you're talking about a Cyclones team that has lost back-to-back road games against West Virginia and Texas Tech. And now you're going to Norman and you're just getting 4. I mean, that's super fishy. You also have the Cyclones run defense being really stout, which essentially means that Oklahoma is going to want to pass the ball, most of the day. And that is their strength. But at the same time, you're coming off of a situation where Caleb Williams finally struggled, finally looked like a freshman, and was replaced by Spencer Rattler. And I think Williams will be the guy. But, that to me is a situation that could be combustible. If Williams struggles and then Rattler comes in, has some success, but then makes a mistake, which is the reason why he was pulled anyway. I think Oklahoma's season is ready to crash and burn. Then you've got Iowa State being able to lean on with a lead. Breece Hall, who's the number 2 rusher in the Big 12, number 6 in the nation, 16 rushing touchdowns this season. Certainly, he's not the reason why Iowa State has not lived up to expectations. And I mean, this is a Cyclones team that has lost all their big games. They lost to Iowa in a game they wanted to win really badly. They lost to Baylor in the Big 12 opener, which really set the tone for their struggles all season. And it's a team that has struggled on the road. They're 1-3 on the road in Big 12 play. So I expected this spread to be closer to 7. And the fact that it's 4 simply, to me, it sends off warning signals. The last 4 meetings after Iowa State beat Oklahoma and Baker Mayfield as 31-point underdogs in 2017 have all been tight. The Cyclones lost 37-27 at home in 18, 42-41 on the road in 19. Then they won the regular season meeting last season before losing 27-21 in the Big 12 title game. So certainly they feel comfortable playing with Oklahoma. It's going to be a breezy day, 13-mile-an-hour winds, gusts of 21 miles an hour. So that favors the run game. That favors Iowa State too. So that's where I'm going. Surprise, surprise. Bedlam may not mean as much unless it's Oklahoma trying to get back in there into the Big 12 title chase and play spoiler to Oklahoma State, which is something nobody would have seen coming as the month opened. But I like Iowa State. Give me the points, and I'm also leaning towards the over.
Good analysis there, Tony. And Robbie, coming to you next. Mejia brings up the fact, a fishy line, a lot of good points here towards the dog and the Cyclones. What are you liking in Norman on Saturday, Robbie?
Well, I mean, fishy maybe, but it opened 6.5. So the money took it down to 4. It shows you who the bettors like that 6.5, straight down to 4. So a lot of Iowa State money, nothing but Iowa State money, you might say, early week in this particular contest. I would say real quick, everybody listening to me and Tony and Drew here, just check your weather in Norman, Oklahoma. Tony and I have somewhat conflicting weather reports here. 11 a.m. start in Norman. I show the game to be during those 3.5 hours between 57 and 66 degrees with a maximum of 14 miles per hour where the wind is concerned, which wouldn't really affect passing. So again, we're filming this early week. Make sure you check the weather in Norman, probably between 11 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. Central Time, probably game time there. To Tony's point about all not lost for Oklahoma, he's absolutely right. They could win or get themselves into the Big 12 championship game and then win it from there. Obviously, Lincoln Riley was unaware of the tiebreaker rule last week, which, I'm not going to say I did know, but he was obviously upset when Dave Aranda kicked that field goal to end the game. And that field goal just put Baylor into the Big 12 championship game. I mean, Oklahoma's going to play Oklahoma State. And even if it ends in a 3-way tie, that field goal now secures Baylor a spot in the Big 12 championship game if they can get themselves, a spotless road ahead and not lose again. But in a 3-way tie, they're there because Oklahoma State or Oklahoma would finish behind them in the point differential between those three teams in their head-to-head meeting. So good move by Dave Aranda to kick that 3. Oklahoma, I think to get in, guys, has to win this game and then would have to beat Oklahoma State by 12 or more to get themselves in there. So it's not an easy road, beating Iowa State and then beating Oklahoma State by 12 or more where the point differential is concerned. Caleb Williams, as Tony said, benched last week. I think things came way too easy to him. He started, not that he hasn't improvised when he was good, but he certainly improvised last week, and it got him benched for 2 series. They brought him back into the game after Spencer Rattler did nothing for 2 series. Let's go through Iowa State's offense because I'm going to lean towards over here. Number, I think, is at 60.5 right now, open 59.5. But the Iowa State offense has been absolutely dominant in conference play. 479 total yards against Baylor, one of the best defenses in the conference. They showed that last week. In that game, ISU goes for 216 on the ground, 263 through the air. That's the most balanced that they've been. But point being, as I go through these, they can do it whichever way you force them to do it. 418 yards against Kansas State. Again, very good defense. 307 passing yards against Oklahoma State, the premier defense in this conference. They couldn't run the ball a lick in that game, but they still threw for 307 and won that contest 24-21. 476 total yards against Texas, 301 through the air, and then 445 last week against Texas Tech, 306 through the air. So Brock Purdy certainly has been slinging it around. For OU, of course, last week only 260 total yards, a complete mess on offense. I wouldn't expect that to repeat itself here. Iowa State's defense in their last 2 road games inside the conference has been tortured. And they go to West Virginia, and West Virginia lights them up for 492. I didn't check to see if that's a season high for West Virginia, but it's probably their Big 12 high this year, 492 total yards, 370 through the air. Then last week against Texas Tech, 529 yards allowed in Lubbock. Again, I'm pointing these out because they're road games and they're on the road here. 322 through the air, 207 on the ground. Whichever way they wanted to do it, they did it against Iowa State. So that defense is getting sloppy recently. Last 2 road games, not good. I don't think it'll be good here. I think their offense will get to OU's defense. Everybody else has. 60.5, Drew. You're asking these teams to get to 31 aside. If I use the point spread here of 4, then they're probably telling you Oklahoma 33-29, somewhere in that vicinity. Iowa State has scored 29 or more in every single Big 12 game except for 1 this season. That was the Oklahoma State game. I think this is pretty easy over here. Again, check the weather, though, because, I mean, if winds get to, I usually use for a college quarterback, I would probably use about 25 to be real disruptive. Brock Purdy's got a strong arm. Williams has a strong arm, but you can only play half the game when you're going into the wind with your aerial attack. So check it out. I don't show it to be that drastic, though. I like over 60.5.
He's Robbie Vino. We also heard from Tony Mejia. Check them both out at WagerTalk.com. Also, guys, at the intro, we talked about Oklahoma, minus 6.5 point favorites at the opener, pushed down to -4. You can keep up to date with all the live odds moves, free live odds, the best in the business. Check it out, WagerTalk.com.